Hello, this is the England Pod Lionesses edition. We are looking ahead to England's quarter-final match against Sweden at Euro 2025. With me as ever, Kathryn Batty of The Telegraph and the England Pod's David Walker. Let's just have a little health check, shall we? Dave, how are we feeling ahead of this one? On the confidence scale?
I'm feeling pretty confident, although I have just been reading a piece about Sweden on The Athletic by Michael Cox, who's been quite praiseworthy of them, talking about how they're actually quite functional, well organised, quite harmonious, and it looks like, I think as we expected anyway, as we said the other day, not going to be an easy game for England. Sweden are a good team, but nevertheless, I still remain confident. I think we will do it.
I'm feeling quite confident. I enjoyed that piece actually. Did you see that Kathryn and I went to sort of Lionesses headquarters where they're staying, and it is ridiculous. It's spectacular. And apparently the Swedish team are kind of staying in what Michael Cox described as sort of halls of residence, sort of very low key, sort of basics. I mean, not basics in terms of like, sports science and the gym equipment and everything they need in that sense. But it sounds like we're English. We need the stuff. We need the we need the shiny stuff.
Single beds then, little small single beds.
Bunk beds, maybe.
Yeah, okay.
Fighting over the top and bottom bunk. It just seems like that's, and they're saying that they're very harmonious, etc. I mean, Kathryn, how are you feeling on the scale of confidence in terms of England getting through this one?
I feel a little bit like I did before the Netherlands game, where I know England can win, and I think they've got a strong enough squad to beat Sweden. But if they have a game where they don't turn up or they're not at their best, Sweden could definitely punish them. And I think, obviously, the Netherlands game went well, and it does kind of feel like England have got into a bit more of a rhythm of playing better now. I know it's only two games, and I know Netherlands and Wales were both pretty poor, and Sweden will be the toughest test of that, for certain. But I do think if they turn up like they have been doing in the last two games, they can definitely win. I also think it's the same. You can kind of say, England's last two games in the group didn't test them that much, but Sweden obviously beat, Germany, but I think Germany have been poor and they were down to 10. Denmark were really poor in this tournament. And the other game was Poland, who, it was their first ever tournament. So you can sort of look at Sweden's run and say they've been really, really good, but then you can also kind of qualify kind of why they've been so good as well. So I think it'll be a close game. I think it might be quite cagey, but I think if England play at their best, they should win.
Yeah, we'll go deep on Sweden, but let's get this out the way, shall we? It's going to be the same starting 11 from Sarina Wiegman, isn't it? I guess that the question is, will there be a slightly different approach, do we think, to this one? I mean, it's going to be a very different game from definitely the Wales game, isn't it, Dave?
Yeah, definitely. Like, we're going to have an opponent that's going to, has the ability to cause us problems, has plenty of good players. So it's a completely different task. But yeah, I mean, I can't see Wiegman springing any surprises, even though, as we talked about, the subs that came on in the Wales game, Mead and Beaver Jones in particular, contributed. You can't see either of them getting a start. They'll be used off the bench again. I think it will be business as usual, but I think that despite the way that the Wales game went, and we did sort of naturally, you sort of ease off a little bit when you're that far ahead. I still think it was a useful exercise in terms of just getting players' confidence up, and the cumulative effect of that win against the Netherlands and the relative ease of the game against Wales should hopefully put us in a position to go into this game with confidence. And I saw Leah Williamson talking yesterday, and she seemed, I mean, like she always does, she's a very cool, sort of relaxed character. But watching her talk about just how she's feeling and how she's sort of feeling about the rest of the squad and the whole vibe at the moment, it's definitely made me feel a lot more at ease.
Yeah, no, I agree. So let's talk about our Sweden, Kathryn. You mentioned, we can pick holes in kind of their run, but they do have the best defence in the competition so far. Conceded just one goal. That was the opener to Germany. And they were kind of on top even before they were leading, weren't they? Before that ridiculous handball, which kind of made sure that Germany weren't going to come back into it. They've had the most crosses, I think, and Johanna Reiten-Kanerid's only Alexia Putellas has created more opportunities from open play during the group stages. But I think, obviously great memories of Euro 2022, weren't they? I don't think we're going to see another scoreline like that.
No, and I think Sweden, they've got a lot of sort of a collection of very, very good in like team players. I don't know if there's like a standout star player. I think people go to Sina Blackstenius because she obviously plays for Arsenal and she sometimes sort of turns up with big goals in big moments. And she's done it in the cup finals for Arsenal. And then you've got the likes of Aslani, who's just got a ridiculous number of caps. But they're a very physical team, Sweden. They're very well organised. And you talk about the crosses. I think they will be looking to try and target England's left-hand side, even though it's looked a lot more solid with Alex Greenwood playing at left back. I think they'll be looking to target that and put loads of crosses into the box. And we kind of heard Leah Williamson talk about it yesterday a little bit. I think it is going to be a battle in the air in the England box. So you're looking at Williamson and Carter to kind of command that box, and Hannah Hampton as well. And I go back to the last qualifying game we played against Sweden this time last year in Gothenburg, and it was 0-0. And Sweden just put Hampton under so much pressure. It was like they were crowding around her. They were sort of trying to foul her. And I could see Sarina Wiegman getting animated on the touchline, sort of saying that, Hampton needed more protection. And it was sort of like they were trying to unsettle her a little bit. So I think it's a big kind of task for her as well and her centre-backs to make sure they own their box and they don't let Sweden kind of come in and unsettle them, which is what they tried to do when they played in Sweden a year ago.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one, isn't it, from that point of view, because we've spent a lot of time talking about the forward players and about, are we going to see a performance from Lauren James and her moving around, and Toon's come in, has looked really good, and like we've had a lot of positives in the last few matches going forward, but the defence haven't really been tested in the last few matches. And partly because we've controlled the games, especially against Netherlands, we didn't give them the opportunity to really trouble us at the back. But we were caused problems by France in the first game with them, going down the wings. Sarina has tweaked it since. She's recognised that. She's moved Carter inside and Williamson and Greenwood out to left back. But it feels like probably given Sweden's level and some of the numbers so far, I mean they've actually got a better expected goals tally than us so far, 9.5 to our 9.3. And yeah, good at set pieces. They put the most crosses in of any team so far. So for all of our wealth of talents and options going forward, the defence needs to stand up and is probably going to be tested, both in terms of the back four and Hampton in terms of not just her, we've spoken about her ability on the ball, but in this game, it looks like, her ability to come for crosses, to be brave, to be commanding, and to stop shots if they come in is going to be really important.
Let's talk about, we mentioned Euro 2022, they met in the semi-finals. This was the Alessia Russo back heel, as we mentioned, 4-0. And actually, a few of them have been speaking about that. I saw Eriksson actually say they were ashamed, they were embarrassed by that. So, quite big words. So I think that will still be they're going to be asked about it, of course, but it's clearly very fresh in their mind. And that, I think that could be not a massive factor, but clearly a big motivation for the Swedish team.
I think so. And I heard some of the Sweden players talking about an article on the FA website that had a couple of errors in it, which they were sort of using as if to they don't know about Sweden. I think they'd said they'd got the name of I think they got the captain wrong, I think. And they'd said Sweden had won the Euros in 1994 and it was 1984. And I think Magda was asked about it and she said, oh, they might not know us now, but they'll know us soon, sort of thing. And then she did clarify and say, I know that the players aren't doing the scouting reports off articles on the website, I know they are watching Sweden and they've got a team watching us, sort of thing. But it was sort of like a little kind of thing that maybe Sweden are thinking, are England underestimating Sweden? I don't think they will. But like you say, I do think there'll be so much motivation in that Swedish team because they've been a nearly team for so long. Not even that tournament. they've made semi-finals. World Cup they were beaten by Spain. Olympics they were beaten in the final on penalties. They've had so many times where they've nearly got there and not just done it. And I think it was actually reading Cannerud that said this time it feels different. So when you've had such a successful group, you build that belief. They're going to probably start thinking this time we're going to do it this time. However, I did also see in the Swedish press that they'd compared whether they were going to get England or France. It was like a choice between the plague or cholera. I don't know which one is which.
Which one are we?
Um, Maybe cholera. I just think the Swedish water's not great, but yeah, that was my logic. But it's sort of interesting sometimes reading the press from other countries and sort of comparing what they write with what we write.
Should we do a
Wow.
poll, Dave? Which one would you prefer to get?
Yeah, it's the lose-lose situation, isn't it? But I mean, I suppose, I mean, the Black Death. I think I'd probably take. Can you recover from cholera? I don't know. I'm not up on my Victorian era diseases, but I think you'd mentioned there, Sweden, England maybe underestimating Sweden. Like, I don't think they will sort of. I don't think the players will. Like, they'll be focused and they'll be up for it. But I suppose, just generally, maybe from us looking on, and maybe a little bit internally as well, like there is a slight danger of thinking, oh, if we beat Sweden, we've got a semi-final would be potentially between Norway and Italy, and you just don't want to get ahead of yourselves. Like this is going to be a tricky game, and it's easy to look back to that game in 2022 where we beat them, very comfortably. Russo scoring that goal that made her, really. But since we've played them twice and drawn twice, haven't we? So, and they are a team, as you say, Kathryn, who've got close. They've got players, plenty of players who've been playing together for a long time, plenty of players playing for good teams in the WSL and around. So it's going to be a difficult game. But it's but this is from a watching on point of view. I've been interested so far to kind of gauge the interest of the watching public back in England, and I didn't feel much, like there wasn't much hype going into the first game. There was a little bit more with the Netherlands game, because I think people obviously knew that it was a must win. The Wales game was on a Sunday night, and I don't think the pubs were packed full of people on a Sunday night watching that game. But I think this one on a Thursday night knockout game, like I think the interest will slowly build, and then steadily build, and then if we do get through it, it's a semi-final. Then I think that's when people really start to kind of sit up, take notice, and realise that we could be back in the final again. So I think it's a big game. It's a big knockout game. Wouldn't surprise me if it went to extra time, maybe.
I was thinking that, and I'm dreading that, because these 9 p.m. kickoffs are killing me already, and it could be the next day if we keep going by the time the game ends. Just wanted to flag up about, Peter Gerhardsson is the Swedish manager, and this is his 5th major tournament. They've reached at least the semi-finals under him in his previous 4. He is leaving after this tournament, but I don't think it's a Netherlands situation where he's been told and there's all sorts of problems. I think he seems to be generally a very popular guy, doesn't he, Kathryn? And you get the feeling it's, they even though they know he's leaving and that can create a slightly strange dynamic, I don't think it's, as I said, it's not like the Dutch where that's kind of led to a bit of an implosion.
No, and I wonder whether actually there'll be more motivation to kind of win it for him. He seems like a really, really lovely guy whenever we've spoken to him in press conferences. I can't remember if it was the World Cup or the Euros. I think it was the World Cup. He accidentally walked into a closet.
That's right, yeah, that was him.
Quite amusing. And he found the funny side of it as well. So I think he always comes across really well. And I imagine his players, given they're playing for him right now and they're getting good results, will probably maybe even have that extra bit of motivation to want to give him a good send-off and try and win that trophy for him after kind of the work he's done over the recent years.
And Dave, you mentioned the atmosphere at home. There's a real great piece in The Guardian about the soft hooligans of Sweden, and Peter Gerhardsson actually mentioned them saying how he's never had an atmosphere like it at a tournament in terms of their support for Sweden. You'll probably see it on the telly, an absolute wall of yellow, and a specific guy in particular who likes to bring an inflatable banana. So there'll probably be a few cutaways of him. Yeah. So, yeah, I think it's going to be, not sure what the official sort of UEFA stats are, but I imagine there's going to be probably more Swedes in the stadium.
They are good travellers, the Swedes. I remember being at Euro 2016. I was in Nice, and they were playing Belgium, and they were just really good, like really good value, like amassed in great numbers. It looks good when they're in their yellow and blue shirts. Like, it just looks good, and you know, you don't. Sometimes big groups of crowds from whatever nation, not just an English thing, but like it can go one or two ways. It can feel intimidating, or it can feel like quite fun. And the Swedes, I think, were more towards the fun side. But what about the England support? We haven't really talked about that so far. Like, because it seems that, like, looking at the games on TV, there's obviously plenty of English fans there, but it doesn't seem in the same way as like a nation like Sweden or like Netherlands, where we sort of congregate en masse and sort of all march to the stadium together, that sort of thing. What's the atmosphere been like from an English perspective?
Inside the stadium, to be fair, it's been pretty good, and the songs are decent. They've got songs they've got the Sarina song, which is to the tune of Tequila, which Sarina was quite embarrassed by, but they are loud. You can hear them in the stadium, yet they don't tend to do the walks. Maybe I think they did have a walk against Wales, but it's maybe because everyone's maybe in white or different types of colours. Like the Netherlands, for example, everyone is in orange.
Yeah.
Sweden, everyone is in yellow, and I think it sort of looks a bit more like there's more of them because they're just all in the same colour.
Yeah.
When it's sort of everyone's in white, or maybe mixture of like the different England shirts, it's sort of like we're not all congregating in the same sort of way. But there are plenty of England fans. I think, you know, in the game against Wales, you could really hear both sets of supporters. And to be fair, each England game, there's someone with a drum, obviously. You can kind of hear the songs that they're singing. So I do think actually it should be a really good atmosphere against Sweden. I think Sweden will bring a lot of fans. I think there'll be a lot of England fans. The slight shame of the Letzigrund, which is the one in Zurich, is that it's got the running track. It's a bit West Ham. So it does feel like the fans are a little bit further away from the pitch, which sometimes can detract from the atmosphere. And while St Gallen was a smaller stadium, I did think actually because it was so close to the pitch, it felt like you could really hear the fans a little bit more than you could in the stadium in Zurich.
Do you know what I was talking about the running track the other day, and when we were playing in the Netherlands, and weirdly, I think I actually liked the fact that there was a stadium with a running track at a major tournament, and equally because Switzerland is a more slightly smaller nation than some of the massive nations that have to host men's World Cups these days. Some of the stadiums, they're smaller. They're not all identical. Whereas when you see a men's Euros or World Cup these days, like, you kind of can't really tell a lot of the stadiums apart just from looking at them, like just on the camera view on TV. And I think when you think back to tournaments in decades gone by, like there's some of the older tournaments, like famous, like Mexico '86, probably the most famous example, or like even USA '94. Like you can just recognise it straight away because it's something visual, something slightly different about the architecture, the stadium, the lighting, the floodlights, whatever it is. So I like the fact that there's something, a little bit different about that stadium, and that we have got a running track in that. So yeah. And it also gives the potential for one of the players to run across it if we score a goal.
It's true.
I think I would like to see that.
Yeah, could be a good celeb, couldn't it? And no, I agree. I'm okay with it because it's not as bad as West Ham. Because that is, doing a game there. I mean, I know you covered West Ham quite well, didn't you, Kathryn? I mean, it is. You need binoculars. It's insane. This one is palatable, and as you say, Dave, it is like a kind of tournament checklist. It is quite nice to have it there, isn't it? At least one of them. Well, okay, let's get to our predictions then. So if you can join us in the prediction league, our sponsors FOTMob have been keeping track. So I am going with 2-1 England win for me. I'm not going to justify it. I'm just going to say it.
I'm going to go with 1-1 So I think, 90 minutes, I think it might be 1-1, and then it could go to extra time, hopefully not penalties.
Oh, no.
But have you commentated on England on a shootout in a tournament, Robyn?
So not live, but I was there for the World Cup in 2023 against Nigeria. That was a game, wasn't it? Lauren James got sent off, held out until the penalty shootout, and I got to say, England were absolutely sensational at penalties. We are now, aren't we? Men's and women's. I think we've got that down now. So I think I'd be confident. The other thing is, I think I was speaking to some people yesterday about if it went to extra time. Sweden have the oldest average age of the squad. They've got a fair few kind of older players. I believe England have better depth and energy. So I think if it did go to extra time, I would back England again. Is that what you would say, Dave?
Yeah. I'm going for 1-1, but hopefully England to get the job done in extra time. Don't think that doesn't count in the predictions league though. It's very much 90 minutes here. In terms of penalty shootouts, if we did go that way, do we have any notable penalty takers among that group of substitutes that would come on?
Chloe Kelly, isn't it, Kathryn?
Yeah.
She has that weird technique, doesn't she?
Yeah, I was just trying to think if I was to pick the 5 penalty takers, it would be Stanway, Kelly. She's assuming Stanway was still on the pitch, and then Greenwood, I think, took one against Nigeria and scored.
She's sort of set piece taker, isn't she?
Yeah. So Beth England took one at the World Cup and obviously isn't here. I'm trying to remember who else took them now. Because Stanway actually, she was the one that missed in the shootout.
Ella Toone, did she?
Ella Toone, I don't
can't.
think she did. No, I think because she took one in the finalism and missed, and then she didn't take one at the World Cup.
Lauren James going to bang one
Did
in?
she take a pen?
No.
You wouldn't
I've
trust her?
in a shootout for Chelsea and miss, and I don't think
Yes, I do remember that.
penalty taker. And I don't think Russo is either, which is actually quite concerning. That's like both of them.
No.
Russo missed for Arsenal when they went out of the Champions League a couple of years ago. It's strange when you have your forward players where you would say they would take a penalty, but actually those two, I'm not sure if they would.
Williamson?
Take one against Nigeria.
Captain?
Williamson's taken penalties. She took a penalty, didn't she, in that like under 17s Euros that she had
The
to come
next
back.
day, wasn't it?
So
They were
I think
called
she
back.
probably would back herself to take one.
What about Hampton?
Oh, yes.
You know what? I would actually.
I would love to see that.
back Hampton. Yeah, so I can't remember who took
I'm a bit concerned
Yeah, I've
here.
got them. It's
We don't-
Rachel Daly scored one. She's obviously not here.
Ah.
Yeah, I can't get her back.
Greenwood scored. Chloe Kelly scored. And let's just have a look here. Beth England,
Yeah. So that's
who
two
was
gone.
who I saw in the stadium at St Gallen in a in an England shirt, but she was with a couple of Welsh fans. So yeah, and she laughed at me when I asked for a cup of tea from the the cellar there.
Well, let's
Yes,
hope
so
it
you're
doesn't go
right.
to pens. We
That's
don't know who's going to be the 5. Hopefully Sarina does.
Sort out amongst yourselves, girls. Yeah, I can't see that happening. Kathryn, your prediction?
Yeah, so I was going to go with 2-1 as well, but I think just to be different, I'm going to say 3-1 to England, and on the grounds that it'll be 2-1 and Sweden will be pushing forward for a goal and we'll hit them on the break.
We
'Cause I
should
don't want extra time either.
we should do Norway against Italy, which is that's going to be on Wednesday. I've gone 1-1 in that one as well. That might go to extra time as well. FotMob have got that pretty evenly matched. Norway 32% chance, Italy 38% chance. So I fancy that one to go to extra time too.
Even the Norwegian journalist they had on 5 Live the other day said, I can't understand how Norway in the knockout stages have been so bad. But they might just fluke their way. I think, I think it might even be 0-0 because Italy don't really score that much but don't give much away.
I'm going to go 2-1 Italy. I think they might win it at the death.
So that's the first quarter-final. Italy, Norway, England, Sweden on Thursday.
The Predictions League, obviously, we haven't had any games since we last spoke, so there hasn't changed. But there is an update to the Predictions League. So Ali Maxwell sitting top. In second place, Michael Cox, but not the Michael Cox. I, for some reason, assumed that it was the Athletics' Michael Cox, noted women's football expert Michael Cox. But then I did sort of think, I was sort of slightly surprised that he would get involved in something as trivial as this. So that it's just a listener who happens to be also called Michael Cox.
Okay. Let's find out if they're actually called that, or if it's just a super Michael Cox fan who is. I mean, either
you never
way.
know.
Either way, doing very, very well. So yeah, if you want to join the Prediction League, download the FOTMob app. All the links you need are in the show notes. And we'll be back on Friday morning to reflect on England's quarter-final against Sweden at Euro 2025. Thank you for your company here on the England Pod. Lionesses edition. We'll catch you next time.